the most important thing people have, citizens have, is that we have broken governance everywhere, okay? And I would like to know from each of the candidates what they would like to do for their constituents that they feel is the most important issue that they need to resolve if they get reelected or elected.
I'm finding out that what people want is people to listen to them, to work with them in Springfield, to pay them attention, to hear their voice, seniors, transportation, education, jobs.
That's multiple issues, though. Is there any one issue in Springfield that you feel should get the most attention from you as a state representative?
I think jobs.
I'm sorry, as a state senator.
Jobs, I think, is one of the most important things that we need to work on in Springfield in the budget, but jobs.
All right. Mr. Kaler.
The budget, we've got to get this ship on the right course.
All right, thank you. Washington and the state of Illinois, Mr. Aguilar.
Absolutely. Washington, the biggest concern that I've heard from District 17 is jobs, but not just jobs for the sake of working. We need jobs that are going to help a family progress, a living wage. And so that's the most important issue, is creating jobs for this area.
Thank you. Mr. Hoppick, you can certainly weigh in on that as well.
I would say to do justice in each case that comes before me.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said, as a judge, to do justice in each case that comes before me. Right. That's going to be the most important aspect for what I do.
Thank you.
I talk to probably 100+ people every day through phone calls, people who stop by our office, going door to door. And more than anything else, I would say it's fighting for the middle class. And what we have representing the 17th Congressional District now is a congressman. He fights really hard for millionaires and billionaires in big oil. That's what he's been protecting, and for the last 14 months that he's been in office, that's what he's fighting for. What I would say, what we need and what I would work for, I would fight for the middle class. I think if there's anything we need to restore the middle class.
I'm going to agree with Senator Kaler and say that budgets, because budgets are moral documents, that's where you actually set your priorities, where you decide what it is that you're going to do, what's just rhetoric, and what it is that you're going to actually try to accomplish for people, whether it is all those other things that we've started listing: healthcare, education, economic development. It doesn't happen if you don't make it a priority in the budget.
As a judge, listen to the people who come before you, apply the law, and act fairly and impartially.
People want to get back to work, creating jobs. Anything we can support that spurs any kind of economic development and jobs in this area, I think, is our #1 priority.
Discussion in the media recently about whether women should be able to have access to contraception in their health insurance, whether contraception is really part of primary health care for women, and whether or not a woman is going to be discriminated against in her health insurance if contraception is not covered. So my question is, do you, so for those, I guess this isn't appropriate for the judicial candidates, but everybody else, whether health insurance should cover contraceptive coverage, and whether you believe that women should be allowed to make their own decisions when it comes to their reproductive health.
Two very good questions. Rick, this time we're going to start on your end of the table, and we're going to, and obviously the judicial candidates can't respond to that because you may have to rule on that someday. So.
I believe that, it should be offered, and if a woman wants the opportunity to have birth control, then it should be offered to her, and that's her decision.
Joyce, you know me, and the answer is yes and yes.
My answer would be an emphatic yes and an emphatic yes. It's a women's health issue. I think for it to be defined as anything other than a women's health issue is putting rhetoric out there that's unfair. So I absolutely, my answer would be yes to both of your questions. Thank you.
Two will follow suit. I agree that contraception should be paid for by insurance. And as a man, I don't really think I have a say as to whether or not I should be pro-choice or pro-life, but as a representative, I'm pro-choice, but also with limitations. We can't let abortion go to the extreme, like I said earlier, of promoting or allowing partial birth abortions where they allow a child to be flipped around, pulled out, and had a tube stuck in their head, brain sucked out, their skulls crushed and pulled out. There's extreme abortion, and we've got to cut back on that. You know, we can't go all the way to that extreme, but I think birth control and abortion is choice.
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes, because, you know, women is equal. It should be treated that way. A lot of times, most women is probably more smarter than most men. And I have 4 daughters who finished college, have advanced degrees, and so they should have the right and should we be treated as equals and not as some people feel that they should be denied. But so yes and yes.
I was so glad that I just heard someone say that as women we are equal and as women we are smarter. With that being said, though, I just want to know when wages are going to catch up then with our mentality and our equality.
Thanks for raising that question. You know, I think a partial answer to that is we need more women in Congress. And, you know, there are all different forms of discrimination. And it's still there. We make 70-some cents on the dollar for doing the same job, and it's got to be addressed. And we have a president who is helping to address that. We need to take it to the next level. And I'll tell you what, when you're looking around the table, the best kind of table that you can have around you is a diverse group of people. And that means from an ethnic perspective, it means from an age perspective, it means from a gender perspective, it means from a religious perspective. That's how you get to the best answer. And the fact that we have so few women in Congress, I think, is a direct reflection in the fact that we are paid 70-some cents on the dollar. And I would like to help make a difference in that area.
All right, anyone else? Thank you for that answer.
I know your base is outside of Peoria, and with such little time left for the primary, I'd like to know what is your plan to get your message out in Peoria?
Well, it's going to be doing what I've been doing the entire time since I announced late last summer. And it's coming door to door, being where the people are, being at the events, being at the sporting events, the basketball games. I get invited to a lot of churches, attending services. My Sundays are busy, but I love God, so I don't mind being there all day, so it works for me. Listening to different messages. So being involved in the community, showing up in your community, invite me. You got an event coming up? I'd love to be there. But the way I'm going to get my message out is the grassroots, boots on the ground, knocking on doors, putting flyers, giving flyers to people who will accept them from me by working my tail off. Don't be surprised if I come knocking on your door, because I'm a grassroots candidate who has grassroots values, and that's the way I'm going to play, and that's the way I'm going to finish.
Thanks for that question. First of all, I have an honorary campaign chair here in Peoria County, George Shadid, former sheriff of Peoria County, former state senator, and I'm honored to do that because I know he knows so many people in this county. I'm also, I'm hopeful to win the primary election, and I told Senator Kaler that I hope to be able to stand side by side with him after the primary election. Lastly, I have the endorsement of pretty much all of the labor organizations that have very strong representation in Peoria. From the AFL-CIO to the laborers, to the building trades, the plumbers, the pipe fitters, the painters, the carpenters. They have, you know, half of the households in Peoria County have some kind of relation to labor. And because of their endorsement, they will help me get word out. Lastly, and this is very farther down the line, but I said on when I came here and made my announcement, and then have come here for subsequent announcements, that I will open an office in Peoria after I'm elected. We have 3 major geographic areas in our district, Rockford, Peoria, and the Quad Cities, and we need to make sure that we have outstanding constituent services. to make sure that we're taking care of the residents of Peoria, Tazewell, and the surrounding area. So I would open an office here, I would open an office in Rockford, and I would open an office in the Quad Cities.
So I want you guys to be as succinct as possible and tell us what we ought to be looking for in terms of whether to select Judge Gorman or to select you, Mr. Hoppick, as the opposing candidate against the Democratic contender in November. What is it that people can take away from here tonight with what you said that should make us want to vote for you?
Well, I practiced law for 14 years with the same law firm, Prusak, Wynn, and Gorman. Max Prusak and Joe Wynn are enthusiastic supporters of mine, I'm proud to say. In November of 2007, I was selected out of 44 applicants to be an associate judge, and I was selected by the circuit judges who were familiar with my work, who I appeared in front of, and who could assess my legal ability. Since that time, I have had the opportunity to preside over high-volume courtrooms where I've had to deal with a variety of different situations in addition to trying cases, jury trials, bench trials, hearing motions, addressing pro se litigants who are unrepresented. I've heard or touched nearly every type of case that comes through the courthouse doors as a judge, and I am the best person for this job.
If the question is specifically how I rank against Mr. Spanos, or is it also against Ms. Gorman? Because I thought you asked us with regards to the Democratic opponent. So
that's
if you would
in November. We'll have, whoever wins this race, we'll have them back in November.
Well then, with regards to Kate, here's why. Because when she talks about having touched every type of case, she hasn't tried every type of case. And you're right, Mr. Jackson. And actually, you made a point that I hope people realize with regards to the bar poll as well. You've been around for 30 years. I've done a lot of trials. We've never tried a single case. So a lot of attorneys don't know what other attorneys do. So I thank you for that point. Now, why am I better than Kate? Well, I'll tell you why. And this is all public information and will probably be on the web here pretty soon. On January 5th, when we had a debate, she publicly acknowledged that prior to her appointment in 2007, she had never tried a single felony jury trial in her life. That's a pretty important fact, ladies and gentlemen, that the circuit judges chose her to be an associate judge even though she had never tried a single felony jury trial. And she'd only tried 4 civil trials, 4 civil jury trials to be clear. And yet she was chosen as an associate judge. And this came out on January 5th as well. Since being an associate judge, to quote her, maybe 5, end quote, felony jury trials. And they were only traffic and domestic, whereas I've done the murder, the drug cases, and the sex cases. I've been the prosecutor. I've been the defense attorney. I've been on both sides. And touching or presiding over every type of case can mean something as simple as hearing an arraignment. That's not a particularly complex job, ladies and gentlemen. And if you go and you watch a courtroom, what you'll see, because I do felonies right now, not just traffic felonies, I certainly do those every week. But I do the major drug cases, I do sex cases, robberies, burglaries, I do it all. I also do traffic, which is all she's done for the last year, over the last year. So if you want to talk about experience at the circuit level, I'm the guy who's been doing it longer. And when she talks about the wide array of experience for 14 years, well, she did a lot of stuff that isn't done at the circuit level, like appellate work. So I'm asking that you vote for me. And here's one other reason why. And I would ask each of you to do this after we stop or while we're being recorded right now. I don't care. Ask us to go through the Illinois Supreme Court rules or the rules of evidence. Because think of a judge as a referee. If you think of a judge in that context over a trial, they should know the rules better than anyone else. If she can't go through all the rules of evidence with you, and she can't go through the Supreme Court rules with you, and I can, then that objectively demonstrates that I know the law better. Because just last Thursday, when we were asked about the Constitution, she could only go through 3 of the 7 articles. That's why you should vote for me.
All right, thank you very much. I thought you said something about a clean campaign, and you spent all your time talking what she didn't do instead of what I asked you is what you've done. So thanks anyway, I appreciate that. Here's an opportunity for each of you to convince us for the last time why we ought to vote for you for whatever position you're running for. And I want you to be succinct about this. We've heard all the arguments as to why you're the best candidate so far and the programs that you would support. But tell us what you're going to do in the office that should convince us, at least in the primary, that you are the best person for us to vote for.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you again for allowing me to come speak to everybody. I unfortunately don't have a voting record or anything like that for you guys to check. This is my first time running for office. I'm here because I'm a lifelong Peorian, and God willing, I'm going to raise a family here. I love my community. I love my county. That's why I'm here. I want to do this because I want to be in a position to do what's right for our area. That's why I'm here. Just simply to further my community service and for the love of a community that I'm a product of. Schools, you know, everything. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
Mayor. I'm a Democrat. I'm not quite as loud this time. Thank you again for hosting tonight. This is always a good forum. I've been going to these off and on for now 10 years. A lot of good issues come up. First thing, please do go out and vote and get your friends and your relatives and everyone to go out and vote, because I'm very worried that this primary election, people think that because on the Democratic side there's not a contest, there's nothing to vote for with the presidency. They don't realize that there are other races. So encourage everyone you know, please vote early, vote by mail, vote on March 20th. Why me? I do have a good record. We've accomplished a lot. You don't hear a lot about it with the county because we aren't flashy. We aren't confrontational. We aren't in the paper as often as the city is. But we've got a balanced budget. We've had our bond rating improved twice. Our finances are doing well. We're doing a lot of the right things about putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to taking care of people. You just have to look at what we're doing with the nursing home up in West Peoria. And I think that we're doing a lot of things together, whether it's redistricting, landfills, passing our budget, where we're doing the right thing, and I've been a part of that. And that's why I'd encourage, don't just believe me, go and talk to my colleagues, talk to the people who have worked with me at the county, and ask them what they think of my record, and I think you'll be able to cast an informed decision. Thank you.
You know, I think all of those in the room tonight can acknowledge that we have a Congress that's broken. It's dysfunctional. And I think we know that we can do better. And what I'd like to talk with you about in these closing comments is that I believe I'm the person to make a difference. Our member of Congress right now to the 17th Congressional District, as I said, has fought for what I would view as the wrong priorities. What I would fight for is the middle class, for a living wage, to create jobs, to preserve Medicare, and to preserve Social Security. It's the democratic fundamentals. It's what the Democratic Party has fought for. And it's under attack by Tea Party Republicans that are currently representing this district. I'd like to get in there. I'd like to make a difference. My husband and I we both came from working class families, middle class families. And we've been working parents. We've raised 3 sons. Our youngest is 21 years old now. Karen, when you talked about being in school, our middle son just graduated from college with $83,000 in debt. That's not what we want for our kids. I know we can do better. I'd ask for you to consider who's going to be the best candidate to come out of the Democratic primary to take on a Tea Party Republican who is out of sync with what most of us, I believe, would want to have happen from the member of Congress. And I thank you for your attention tonight. And again, if I haven't met you individually, I would certainly like to make sure that I meet everyone here individually, and thank you for your attention.
I'm going to ask for your vote because I have the most actual experience at the circuit level. I'm also asking for your vote because I know the law the best. Now, why am I running? Well, I didn't have an easy upbringing. I didn't come from an ideal family. And as I was going through some very difficult times, I made myself a promise to God, that if I was in an opportunity to make things better for other people, that's what I would do. I tried to do that as a prosecutor and was recognized for it. I've done it as a defense attorney, and I've been successful there as well. And now I'm seeking to go to the judiciary because I believe we need more judges who actually know the law, know the Constitution, and will give a fair hearing to both sides, regardless of any personal feelings they may have either towards the attorneys or towards particular individuals. So I would ask for your vote on February 27th, if you vote early, or if you're voting on the primary date, March 20th. Thank you very much.
Before we pass down, I want to give Judge Gorman, I thought that you guys had your closings already, but I asked for that extended explanation. So.
Well, a critical characteristic of being a circuit judge is judicial temperament and acting in a professional manner. And my colleagues and my peers have evaluated me repeatedly, and I've received high marks for my judicial temperament and all those other things that are so important, my integrity, my legal ability, my work ethic. So, March 20th, I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Greg Aguilar, Rock Island County, East Moline, Illinois, and I'm here to ask for your vote so that I can secure Medicare and Social Security, create jobs for our area, as well as support education for our district and our entire nation. Now, one thing that I want you guys to take away is that I am working class. I work full-time during the day. And in the evenings and on the weekends, I campaign because this is the way I thought it was supposed to be. I thought that if you were going to represent the people in the working class, you had to be of the people in the working class and show up to work every day, and then on your free time, go and campaign. I'm not a professional politician. I'm an everyday guy that works every day and that wants to represent all of you. In closing, I'm also an educator, and I'm going to leave you guys with the final assignment. Now, do you want to elect a politician who will be business in Washington as usual? Or do you want to elect a public servant who will always put the people of his district first? Thank you.
Well, excuse me. First of all, thank you, Don, and thank you, Ward Chapel, for doing this. This is just kind of a traditional candidates' night in Peoria, and it's meaningful. It's good that I know that Dennis puts this on the air. I'm in a little different position as an incumbent. This is my 6th year in the Senate. I've enjoyed it. It's a lot of hard work, but I think I do it well. I have enjoyed the legislative process. One of the bright points in my career has been that Jahan Gordon has come down to Springfield to join me, and I think we've made a pretty good team in Peoria. So, you know, it's not that I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what I've done. What you're going to get is more of the same. And if you're happy with that, then I would really appreciate your vote, because I'd like to continue. If you're not, then you've got some other choices. But at this point in your career, you just, you know, what you see is what you get. And I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
I have I have served over the years on the county board, on the city council, the ICC board of trustees, and there's one thing about democracy: you have to vote. I've heard tonight people talking about working with people in November or next year, but the first thing, there is an election on March the 20th. You have to win an election. There's no entitlement. There's no entitlement to say that you are ordained to be a state senator. You have to get out and work hard for that vote. And I have done that over the years, have won. I've belonged to labor unions, Local 165, I'm a member. I've been a member of UAW, been a member of ASME. So there is an election, as Alan said, on March the 20th in the primary for the Democratic candidate. So people who saying that, oh, I'll be delighted to work for a candidate next year, because no one is ordained or entitled to be a state senator, a state representative, a congressman. You have to be elected in our democracy. So I hope that you, on March the 20th or before that, an early voter, that there is an election, and that we who have been elected over the years in different positions have something to give, to serve the community. The one thing that I've always done is because I had polio, and my mom used to pray at night that somehow I would be able to be mobile, to live, and it turned out that I was all-state basketball player. I was involved in politics. And she said, you have to give back. You have to be a servant. You have to give back to the community. And I have done that. I have fought the good fight. I've always will fight. I haven't been entitled. I was involved in the civil rights movement, fought for diversity. And so some people saying or sound like that the people are entitled just because you are who you are. Well, I'm here because my mom told me to fight for what is right. And so the ordainship and entitlement and talking about after November, we have an election on March the 20th. And please cast a vote for James K. Pope. Thank you.